Namaste everyone. I'm Dr. Madhav, radiologist. My warm greetings to all of you from Bengaluru. For some time now, I have been weighing a few thoughts about the ways of bringing medical fraternity much closer to the community. I also come across individuals who make significant contributions that enhance the lives of others. I wanted to introduce these success stories around us to you all. The best way to do this would be directly hearing from them. So, the idea behind this series of interviews is to recognize and celebrate each success around us. These are the people who toil their lives with the goals to make this world better. These are the common heroes who matter to us and who made the difference. These are the people who would prefer to be identified by their deeds, the ways they were achieved, and the values behind them. Welcome to my show, LifeScan with Madhav. Let us celebrate success with values. Hope this would inspire many more amongst us. Namaste. I am Dr. Madhav Hegde. My warm greetings to all of you and welcome to yet another episode of LifeScan with Madhav. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Ravindra, an eminent gastroenterologist practicing in Bengaluru, and he is from Tumakuru. Dr. Ravindra, welcome to you.
Namaste.
First question, Ravindra. Now, people say doctors are either born or doctors are made. And I'm very sure, having inspired many students and doctors in the field, you belong to the former category. So tell me, when did you make up your mind to become a doctor?
No, after my 12th standard, I had a interest in medicine because my orientation was more towards biology. That's why that made my mind to move towards medicine. And of course, because our time ali the choices were two. Either you have to become an engineer or you have to become a doctor or you have to become an IAS officer. But out of all these three things, I think medicine was more challenging and medicine was more interesting. Even though we had a boom, I think you remember we had a boom of engineering because that was the era of Y2K and lot of engineering, this thing was boom was there. But medicine is always interesting and challenging and more satisfying.
Super. You made my life much easier. But still, I'm going to poke that question. If not doctor, still, if you are forced to become, what else you would have become?
No, when I was a child, I was thinking I should become a scientist. That
Super.
was my interest. But I think medicine became an interest because most of us in India, no, we all go by what is at the 12th standard, you make a decision what to be done.
And but at the same time, I'm sure your scientist or research passion, you would have done it during your practice as well, both during your MBBS days and your post-graduation days. I think I'm very sure at least in part you would have been a scientist.
Yeah, because your research is a part of medicine. And then most of the people who are into academics or in private practice, I think we should have research. Otherwise, we will not be progressive.
Great. We'll come back to that, Ravindra, maybe at a later stage. Here again, one more question I have. Generally, once we decide to become, physicians, natural tendency is to think towards cardiology. So, how did you choose to be a gastroenterologist? I would say, decades ago, probably still it was not the easiest choice for you to make.
No, I think cardiology is everybody's because at that point of time, the passion was always a cardiology only. Everybody had a decision on making cardiology also. In fact, I missed by 1 mark for the cardiology. That
Good
is
for
one.
gastroenterology.
Yeah, good for gastroenterology. But later I realized it was better that that 1 mark made me a gastroenterologist. And I feel because as a physician, the chances of doing an intervention is You have to either choose gastroenterology or cardiology, because all other branches in medicine are more of medicine, writing prescription or making diagnosis. But I think two fields which will really make a difference is cardiology and gastroenterology. As we are seeing now, it is almost replacing surgery. That's why I think cardiology and gastroenterology are totally making medicine less invasive and less stay in the hospital.
That's a really interesting observation, Ravindra. I mean, as you said, these two branches give you an opportunity to become both a physician as well as a surgeon. You do all those procedures, quickly reducing the hospital stay and making that more patient, acceptable. And once the
Yes.
things are less invasive, I think the compliance rate and the acceptance rate on the part of the patient increase.
Yeah, 100%, because less pain, less stay, and then they go home in a faster way. I think everybody needs that, and that's the choice of everyone.
Correct. And in addition to the procedures being non-invasive, even from the finance and the economic dynamics perspective, also the churn will be easier, and I think it's a better situation for everyone, including the hospital administrators, the industry, and particularly the patients.
And I think patients will definitely choose an intervention versus surgery, because less pain, less stay, and less cost. Most of the time, it is less cost. Surgical surgery, of course, costs more, except some procedures where you need some special instruments. Otherwise, surgery, the interventions are always a better choice for patients.
Again, specific question on your journey. From being a ಮೇಧಾವಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಯಿಂದ ಮೇಧೋಜೀರಕ ಅಂಗದ ತಜ್ಞರಾಗಿ ತಾವು ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ಹೇಗೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಮ್ಮ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳುಗರಿಗೆ ವಿವರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ರವೀಂದ್ರ.
I think ನಾನು after my MBBS and MD, ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ I had an option, because everybody's option at that point of time was either you become a cardiologist or a gastroenterologist. I had both things in mind. ಎರಡೂ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, but gastro was always an option because you will do some intervention. ಅಂದ್ರೆ I wanted always to be somebody who does an intervention. ಅದರಿಂದ I moved from that was my choice. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ಟ್ರೋಂಟಲಜಿಸ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡೆ.
ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾಯ್ತು ರವೀಂದ್ರ ನಿಮ್ದು?
I did my MD DM from Bombay, Sion Hospital. Because our role model was at that point of time, I think everybody knows Dr. Nageshwar Reddy. I think he is one of the pioneer in the world now. He has made India proud by making the largest gastroenterology hospital in the world. And incidentally, I was there in Bombay. There is one more gastroenterologist, Dr. Madhav. These are all role models, and they are our role models. I think they have made the India proud. In fact, they have done procedures which even the other people in the world, they find it difficult to do.
Good that you made a reference to role models. I think that is really important, and that is one of the important purposes of this show. We need to create probably a larger pool of immediate role models, and people like you, the achievers like you, can inspire many more amongst us. Again, thank you, Ravindra, for joining us. Meanwhile, before we move on, I got one more question. One of the contentious issues or the criticisms we doctor fraternity faces now is that the current generation doctors depend too much on laboratory investigations, and that adds to the cost. So this is one of the criticisms generally we hear from the public. So what is your take on this?
I think it is partly right, partly wrong, because in the 20 years back, we didn't had many of these investigations also. And then there were some mistakes also were happening at that point of time, because now there is a very good CT scan, small tumors also you can detect. And then 25 years back, if you say ನಾನು clinically ನೋಡಿ ಕಂಡಿಡಿತೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋದಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ it would have already progressed. That's why a good CT scan, good endoscopic ultrasound, or a good MRI, or an investigation which is new has definitely made a real change. But we should not, clinically we should make a decision whether this patient has to be done or not. Just because for doing a intervention or a test, we should not do it. That is the whole thing. But some of these investigations have definitely made a real change for the patient, and it has made easy for doctors also. But only thing is we have to use with caution and with the cost in the mind. I think that's very, very important. Just because CT scan is there just for abdominal pain, writing a CT scan, that is not good. You make a clinical decision and it makes a difference. Definitely we should do. And always you should think, if you are in the, if your own son or father or mother are there, whether you will write those investigations. And if those investigations are right, I think you should write those investigations. That's the whole idea. And unnecessarily writing an investigation, of course, we should not be doing. I think there is a people feel that sometimes the tests are done more. If it is done for their good, and I think that is acceptable. But just for some other purpose, if they do, I think that's a wrong thing or a wrong notion, which they should, nobody should do it.
So, as in the rest of the walks of life, so you suggest that we need to strike a balance, isn't it?
Yes.
And as you
Yes, yes.
suggested, not all the occasions we need not surrender to CT. In fact, there are less invasive and more acceptable tests like ultrasound. And if the
Yes.
time demands or the situation demands, even we have MRI as well.
Right. No, I think you have to take a balance. I think you always see you sit in the position of the patient. You are the patient. Then you know what is right for the patient. I think that's the most important thing, which I always tell my juniors. See, whenever you order an investigation, should always think of two things: whether it makes a difference, whether it will change the treatment, and if you are the patient, whether you will order these tests. I think these three questions, if you answer, I think most of the time the test what you do will always be right.
So finally, we need to sort of contextualize, see the situation, and whether we are getting different data sets from different set of investigations, whether it is a blood test or some other body fluid like urine test or scanning test.
Yes. I think the answer is very clear. Means people feel, because some misuse and then there is a generalization. I think that is the problem. And it is also highlighted sometimes, it is highlighted in a wrong way. And people think that everything done is done for something wrong. But I think this is the balance we should always do. And then ultimately, if patient becomes better at a lesser cost, you will always be better. Patient will bring patients for you. That's why I think that's the most important thing. You keep the cost, patient, and as well as the whole what you get the information. I think accordingly we should do it.
Great. And Ravindra, one more contentious issues, I would like to have a quick discussion. You might have, heard in the media that there was some recent unpleasant, incident which happened with one of the deans of a medical colleges. And similarly, we hear, a lot of noise, probably committed by some errors, medical errors committed by our fellow colleagues, or sometimes even the revenue part in organizations we are working with. So doctors are always held responsible. So do you think, is it a sort of far-fetched extension of vicarious liability? Is it something, too many responsibilities we are forced to shoulder sometimes? Or how do you feel that? Or these kind of pressures, how have you handled in your career so far?
No, I think primarily, see, as a means because ultimately, I think when you are the head, when you are the face, I think you will have to face these challenges. But I think at the same time, you should not take these something which are not your mistakes into your heart. See, if there is a problem, you make a trial, and then if there is a mistake of him, definitely punished. I don't say you don't punish, because if there is a mistake, it has to be accounted. I think that's what the whole idea is. But doing all these things for only for public, this thing, even though public may feel very happy at one point, then the professional people will start becoming more and more uninterested, and this results in more problem for the public on the longer run. And the people who do this also will face the same problem, because if you the karma will hit back to you. That's what will happen. I think people should also, because nowadays the problem is there is a media, everything will highlight this. But the thing is, whenever we do this at a longer run, what happens? We should always look. If there is a mistake, we punish them. There is no problem of punishing. That's what we should do. But this will really make a sudden judgment, sudden these things. I think in a longer run, it is not going to be a good, fruitful thing for India as well as for the world, for that matter. Wherever we do this, this is a mistake. I think that should not be accepted.
So you suggest these kind of sensitive things need to be handled in a more sensible way.
See, what people should realize is if there is a mistake, there are authorities, and then those authorities should take those things. Because mistakes happen in every profession, every this thing. I think that has to be punished, and there is no question. Because we should not say that somebody should not be punished if there is a mistake. Yes, there is a mistake, he has to be punished. If there is a mistake, make him accountable. But don't do these gimmicks in the this thing. That's because then if at the end of the day, if he's wrong, then it's okay. Let him be punished. That's not the thing. But don't make these things which people
Do
feel
not
very happy.
sensationalize. Do not
Yeah,
sensationalize.
sensation. Correct.
And you deal with intestine, Ravindra. So I must say you are a gutsy doctor. And
Yeah.
and when it comes to diagnosis, so again, do you depend on sort of gut feelings? And extending that question, like what is the impact of emotions on the digestive system or guts?
No, I think gut feeling is always important because every human being feels this gut feeling is always there, because some things you always feel it is right. Sometimes feel it is wrong. I think that is you should always follow that. We call it as a sixth sense. Even in medicine, because many tests you do, but you feel that your gut feeling is the diagnosis should be something else. I think that is always right. And then because that's a sixth sense which is making you to go towards the right side. That is what we should utilize. That we call it as intuition. Or a gut feeling is also an intuition or a sixth sense, what we people say.
They say subconscious assessment of the data which you have already accumulated over the years, that leads into intuition.
I think that is right. And then we should always follow that intuition. And but at the same time, it should be a balance. Many times, no, your intuition has to be balanced. Sometimes your intuitions are also going towards the wrong side, then that has to be corrected. That's very important. And coming to the emotions in gastroenterology, yes, I think emotions, not just in gastroenterology, emotions play in all fields, especially more in the gastroenterology, because I think all diseases start in digestive system, because people think that heart disease is a different disease and all these things, because what people have to be made aware that all the diseases, the origin is digestive system and mind. Of course, mind has an effect on all the systems. If you are very depressed, you will have constipation. If you are very anxious, you will have irritable bowel syndrome or diarrhea. Or if you are very anxious, very always having a lot of stress, emotions, anger, then there is more gastric problems. Because these all have, because basically whenever you are very emotional, our nervous system gets affected. And once nervous system gets affected, the highest nervous system is enteric nervous system, bigger than any other nervous system. Because once your enteric nervous system gets into problem, the digestive system goes into a toss. Stomach may have acidity, and then intestine may have irritable bowel syndrome. You will have constipation, and all other different diseases, they start because of these bad emotions or uncontrolled emotions. And then also the digestive system, because if food is not taken properly, you have all diseases: diabetes, heart disease, stroke. In fact, if you ask me, if your stomach is good and your mind is good, you will never have any diseases.
So I think you have conveyed two messages here. So one is, clearly that mental health or mental well-being has a direct impact on our gastrointestinal system. And secondly, maybe for the rest of our colleagues, when probably the patients come to consultation for gastroenterology examination, we also need to think of these possibilities of having the mental or the mind component of the GI system. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. Not just in medicine, all places. Because if your emotions are not good, means depressed, anger, and then all these things, no, they will have an effect. Even just not just GI, even cardiac heart attacks are more, and then people will have more strokes, and then even because heart, even kidney diseases, what they get, because basically it is an emotions, and then heart, your blood pressure starts going up, and then you'd end up with some near kidney problems and other things. That's why if you don't keep the emotions in a proper way, and then your food in a proper way, I think that's a recipe for disaster, recipe for all diseases.
And Ravindra, you refer to gastric. I sometimes I could see confusion among the patients when they use the word gastric. Sometimes they relate it to a flatulence. So would you please some idea on this for our public?
I think basically people have to be aware gastric is different and passing gas is different. Gastric, we call it as there are two things. One is you have a heartburn, that is known as a acidity or reflux disease. Second thing is people have bloating and then upper abdominal discomfort. That is a different issue. We call it as dyspepsia or gastric problem. Flatulence means people who will burp or to pass gas. That indicates that they have more gas in the intestine, or they're producing more gas, which they are either removing from mouth or removing from the down through the anus. Because all these three things are different. Heartburn is reflux disease. Upper abdominal discomfort, bloating is a problem. We call it as dyspepsia. And the excessive gas which they pass is basically a problem with the small intestine, or sometimes people may also be taking air inside the intestine. We call it as aerophagia.
Okay. And you also referred to the importance of diet in our health, both the gastrointestinal as well as the rest of the organs. So direct questions. Did you have your dinner now?
No, I think the late dinner should never be practiced. That is very, very important. I think diet is very, very important, not just for health, for all purposes, diet is the most important thing.
So you
I think
prefer
all
Coke, you prefer Coke, Pepsi, or an apple juice?
an apple juice is always 200% better than this, than Coke or anything.
Pizza or a dosa?
Of course, 100% dosa.
So packed food or home food?
100% it is home food. Because
Okay.
if they eat everything like this, then they will definitely visit us.
And secondly, again, extending our discussion on the packed food, is there any relation with these all preservatives or coloring agents and the incidence of cancers in the society, particularly with respect to GI system, maybe pancreas or rest of the organs?
Yes, definitely. When you cook, means it's very simple. Anything which is, so all the foods are to be consumed next in 3 to 5 hours, because even because all their nutritive elements are gone. See, you have the fresh foods are always the best foods to eat. Even if you cook, next 4 to 5 hours or 6 hours are the ideal time to take those food, because after that, as we know, the nutritive power starts coming down, and it will become more of a without nutrition. That's why any foods which are to be consumed are fresh green vegetables and fruits are the highest, A category. Second thing is all the cereals, they come under category B. And then in non-vegetarian food, it is fish and country chicken, what we call it as nati chicken. They are the ideal thing. And whoever are the people who are watching, I always tell avoid red meat and this boiler chicken, which are hormone bred, because they are the most dangerous, which lead on to cancers. And coming to the preservatives, of course, all these preservatives and then coloring agents, they are not natural. Most of them are artificial, and there is lot of data which is coming up that many of these are carcinogenic, not just stomach, colon cancer and pancreatic cancer. Other cancers are also they are responsible. That's why always, given a chance, try to take fresh foods, better to consume in 5 to 6 hours. That is the ideal way. And all the diet, whenever your plate is seen, 50% to 60% should be green vegetables. I think that's the thing. If that is green, then your all systems will be green. Otherwise, if you see many of these red things, what the preservatives, this pizza, this aerated drinks, I think they are look very nice, but I think that's the reason why India is becoming a diabetes capital. India is becoming cancer capital, and India is becoming so many other inflammatory bowel disease we never had, colitis and Crohn's disease.
Correct.
All of them are in a big rise because we have started following the West. but we don't follow the West in a proper way. I think we should follow the Indian diet, which is the most important thing. That's why we never had all these diseases so rampantly.
That's a great message, Ravindra. In the sense, it is not only the food asset, the whole lifestyle, which is in the transition phase or sort of confused phase. I think that is adding to the disease burden, and it's really a sort of iceberg phenomenon. We keep on listening to the conversations in the society. People keep on telling one of our relatives recently developed a cancer. He was not smoking. He did not indulge in any kind of substance abuse, but still he developed a cancer. I think these are the reasons, which we are not noticed in our lifestyle, particularly the carcinogens.
Yes, yes, yes. And not just that one, but nowadays what is happening is even the vegetarian food what we consume, lot of pesticides are being used.
Correct.
I think that's more added problem which is having, because many vegetarians we see they don't eat any meat or anything, but the pure vegetarian still they have a very high incidence. That's because one is these preservatives, second thing is they have genetics, and third thing is a lot of pesticide being used. We know because we get lot of these farmers, they say without pesticide in India, no, nothing grows.
Correct.
And then this is adding a problem silently to the food what we are eating.
And maybe in case of fruits, even the ripening agents, not only
Yeah.
they take away the taste, they add to the risk of cancers as well.
Yeah, they make it very bright, and so that you take those and then you buy those. But end of the day, they are all these chemicals are giving a problem.
Again, you are bringing an important point here. So healthcare, the responsibility, the onus is not only on the doctors. So it is a collective responsibility, even those in the agriculture or maybe in the chemical industry. So overall, it's a health is a socio-economic condition. Is that right, Dr.
Yeah,
Ravindra?
100%. Because you cannot blame one thing, because it's just culmination of everything. From the production side of food, and then these things what we promote in our media or social media, where nowadays, no, instead of promoting our which were natural things, promotion is more on things which are unnatural. And second thing is the way we are because the way we are grown the food, and then what we eat, what we drink, and then what things, the habits what we cultivate. I think this is all we are following from traditionally from the Indian mindset. We are going becoming Western. Unfortunately, Western people have now started realizing that our method is better than their.
Correct.
I think we should reverse back and then look into ourselves, so that our traditions and our eating habits, I think that's most suitable for having a good health and overall health and prosperity.
So in single sentence, your health is what you eat
Yes, yes, yes. What you eat is what
and how your
your health.
lifestyle is.
Then what you eat and how do you think? Because these are very, very important. Because thinking and eating, I think they are 200% related to the success as well as for your health.
Dr. Ravindra, you have been there in the industry now for more than 3 decades. You have played a different roles, starting from being an educator of the society in terms of preventive health, or may it be treating the illness, considering the patient's values, and as a successful entrepreneur. So, how challenging was this journey? And maybe one or two most important messages you would like to share with all of us.
Yeah, I think it is the journey is interesting, challenging both, because when we started, I think most of us we all started from a humble background, and then my father is a teacher, and then I think there is a because you have to have a passion to excel. I think that's the most important thing. Whatever you achieve, whatever you become, I think that's very, very important. The journey is always because you have to start everything on your own, because you don't have a system which is in place. But here you have to make your own mark, because you have to start from zero, and then you have to reach whatever the things what you are. I think lot of hard work is very much important. because that is the most important thing. One. And second thing is always try to do right things. Don't make shortcuts. And that shortcuts leads into a problem. I think that is very, very important. Hard
Shortcut
work,
will cut
no
you short.
shortcuts. Yeah, that will definitely make you very short. No shortcuts, hard work, I think, and then always try to do right. Whatever the field you are, I think that's very, very important. Especially in medicine, you should always think the other person is your own relative or your own father, mother, or brother. Then you will always take the right decisions. I think that's what I always tell. That is the third important thing you should always tell, because every other human being is in human being. It's a life we are dealing with. I think that's the third important thing. And then as an doctor, this is what I want to say. And then as an entrepreneur, I think it's really challenging. Doing a treating or an operating is very easy, but managing your own center or your own hospital is a real challenge, because there are very good doctors, but they cannot be an entrepreneur because they are very good at their work. But entrepreneurship is an altogether different ball game. I think most of the doctors are also now going into that field. And basically this needs, you should have more traits. I would say some of these traits what we will have to inculcate, because you have to look from everything. Means, just to take an example of an hospital, doing an endoscopy or doing a appendicectomy is easy, but managing electricity, water, and then everything, I
I
think that's a
understand.
challenging.
So these are
Mm,
entirely different skill sets, and probably you're competent enough, but still you do not have enough resources to
yeah.
do the things together, both as a doctor as well as entrepreneur. And as you
Yes.
rightly said, being a doctorpreneur is a higher challenge. And also, you
Yeah.
highlighted doing the right things. So it is not only the end result, but the path you take is also important. So your thoughts are pretty, in sync with the very core of this show. The success with values. And
Yeah.
again, you said you are a son of a teacher. So, what is that one strong message probably your father you would have given it to you?
Then I think hard work and you should be honest. I think these are the two important things. And these two things, if you keep in and you do both the things, I think always success is guaranteed.
And again, reflecting on your experience of these 3 decades. So, just can you give a sort of bird's eye view how the practice, may it be the solo practice or the group practice or a corporate practice, how it has evolved in India over the last 2 or 3 decades?
No, I think even if you look at our own this thing, it was solo practice for first 5 years. And then next started the group practice. Means we added one more person, a junior person, and then that's a group practice. And then he becomes a sort of an junior to he will become a senior. And then many of them, they have started their own, they have become their own group. I think this
Great.
is what that it will happen. And then now we are also, because I'm into both our own center as well as a corporate. I think that is both things we are managing. I think basically even in the these 3 decades, I think we had solo practice. Now it is group practice. And then now the most important thing is there are bigger groups which are coming. Means not just two, three. People are making larger groups and then taking up responsibility of multiple hospitals, multiple centers. I think solo is going to go. I think it's the group practice which is going to stay, because that will add less burden, less headaches, and then collective responsibility will come.
Thanks for those insights. Now, again, common question, probably whole society discusses 24/7 on this social media and the gadgets. So, how has been your relation with that? How have you used social media in your practice, or has it made your life difficult? So, you are a WhatsApp guy, Facebook guy, or a LinkedIn guy, Ravindra?
No, I think I use very little of these, but means I am more into this WhatsApp, Facebook, and these things, because when in my own practice, means I work from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock. After that, there is very little time. Only thing is I'll watch, look is WhatsApp. I'm not hooked to Facebook and these things. But of course, social media has really made both positives and negatives. Because social media positive thing is a good thing is highlighted very fast. That is the plus point. Means if you need to convey a good thing, I think previously you have to go to a newspaper or to a television.
So
Then you are at
reach is wide and rapid, and the
yes.
impact is also quite huge.
Yes, yes, it's very huge. But at the same time, the negativity also spreads very faster. That is also a negative point because we see, at least in the field of medicine, no, people just go in and then search something just to say they have a headache, and then they go in and search it will show a brain cancer or something, and then they start getting worried. I think this is what is also a problem, and I think we have to use it in a right way. Definitely, it helps. Social media, I think everybody should use it, but in a responsible way, not getting hooked into it. Because if you have for 24 hours, you can spend maybe a 15 minutes to 20 minutes, not more than that. I think too much is also a problem. I think use it in a proper way and it will definitely work. Because even in medicine, it also works because you do some a good procedure and it has to be known to everybody, then you can use the social media platforms and then that will help, and the right information you can give. I think those are the right things what you can do, and that will also help most of the patients, as well as for all fields it will help.
And it can impact both the factors which you mentioned a short while ago, both the way you think and the way you eat.
Yes. I think very important. Use the social media in a right way, responsible way, and don't get hooked to that. I think that's the most important thing. Many patients, they ask me, sir, can I WhatsApp? Then I say I have 652 messages every day. I cannot go on scrolling because you have so many things, and then 650 messages you start seeing every day. It will be half of your day goes on this. I think that people should never do. I think use it in a good way, and it's very good to promote yourself and as well as to be in touch with people, because it definitely has helped. Because so many of our own friends whom we had never met, I think we have met and then we have exchanged. I think that's the right thing we have done. But don't be 24 bar 7 on that and then waste your time, and that will go into a negative direction.
Now, closely connected to social media, then what we think and the development is politics around us, Dr. Ravindra. And we know that politics and development are closely connected. So leadership does matter. So in the last a decade or so, what are the key changes you have noticed, particularly from the infrastructure in general, or maybe health infrastructure? So what is your take on that? And what is the roadmap, probably you would like to see it for India in the next 10 years, which you are hopeful of?
Yeah, I think everybody is seeing now infrastructure. There is a huge change because in last 1 decade, I think you can see now every district is now getting connected with an airport. Almost that is the main important thing, which is the most important thing, because in America and Europe, you have every place is connected with flights. I think that's what is happening. If you see in Karnataka, we had only one Bangalore airport when we started. Now there is airport in Shumaga, Mysore, Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum, and most of the places. I think now, which was a distant dream, has become a real thing. That is one. Number two, the way the train connectivity, I think this Vande Bharat, which is coming up, I think it's a huge difference. That is what happening. And then the highways which are there, just like because other day we had an American who had come to us, and then he told the way the highways look now, they are much better in India than in America. Means not at all places. I think some of the places that we have started seeing. That's a sign of development. And
Right.
coming to
At
the
least, a
infrastructure,
few good things already we have to,
we have to
speak
accept.
about and celebrate. Good.
Yes. And coming to the health infrastructure, I think all the political parties, we have to, there is always this thing, we have to increase the health. I think two things the India should still make is one is education, which has to be a world standard, which has to be given free. And then health has to be the best standard health has to be done in the government sector, which has to be and then they have to incentivize, and these two things, a good health, a good education, and then good water. I think if they give these three things of the very high standards, I think that is going to make India into a better future. I think infrastructure wise, we have been very good. And then even the respect of India across the world has become really better. Once when we used to go to, say, when I used to go to US or some places, India means they used to say, they used to not much bother. Now they look in a different way. We are seen with more respect. I think that's what has happened in last decade. I think this is very, very a good thing what has happened. I think one more very important thing all the political dispensation has to look is they have to give very high priority for education, which still the primary education, the secondary education has to be made absolutely because what we are seeing nowadays is more of private sectors which are giving the education, which is not giving to everybody. I think that has to happen. Every child has to be given the best education, and then the teachers have to be incentivized, and then they have to be motivated because they are the one who are going to change the nation. I think that is one thing we have to give. And second thing is health has to be the health has to be given in such a way that even a private hospital and a government hospital should look very similar. I think that's one important thing we should give more thrust on that. And of course, the third important thing is good water, which should be given. And then we should give more importance on building nationality, and then good practices, good health thing, and this has to be inculcated in our education itself. Means our all children, when they come up, they have to be made two things very, very clear: respect for the nation, respect for the family and their father and mother, and respect for the country. This has to be cultivated. I think that has to change. The nation pride has to be that has to be cultivated from the beginning. That is one very, very important thing. And respect to the within the family, that bonding has to come. This is very, very important. And then the honesty, all these things have to come in the education sector itself.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra. Listening to your candid views, starting from medicine, the diet, the mind component of it, the family value, and the burning issue of nationalism. Thank you again.
Thank you.